Welcome to another episode of Health, Wellbeing Lifestyle, where professionals in their fields come on to our show and educate the community, inspire them to live healthier lives, feel more balanced and live a lifestyle they love. Today our first guest is Helen Mack, and she's here to talk to us about optimising outcomes, and she is an optimising outcomes coach, so it's perfect. Helen, what made you come up with that idea?
Thanks for asking that, Linda. My background is in psychology initially, and I did a lot of work in corporate organisations and organisations of a variety of sizes, working on how do we get good outcomes from people and from individuals. My passion is actually optimism, and that attitude is what drives all of my work. But optimising outcomes is more outcome focused. So it takes the concept of optimism, which is an attitude or an approach, and it gives people some ways to approach their lives, their businesses, their relationships, their communities, to get better outcomes for themselves and for others. And it was driven from many moons ago when I was young. My mouth turned down when I was at rest. So I always looked a little bit unhappy. And so lots of people would sort of say to me, "Are you okay, Helen?" I'm like, "Fine." What I learned to do was tell my face. Have you ever met someone like that who's perfectly happy but they forget to tell their face? So I learned to smile, and I learned to teach myself how to have a happier approach. But happiness is temporary. Optimism and optimising outcomes is more grounded and more long-lasting. So I've now done a lot of research into the power of optimism and why that's an important part of the puzzle for people to get better results, whether that be in their health, in their lifestyle, in their business, whatever part of their life that they want to make changes. And there's really, in more recent times, I've developed a 3-step process for taking you from what am I going to do to what's the best possible outcome. How can I optimise this situation, or how can I maximise this opportunity? And that's, we have to go from thinking that something's not possible to moving to asking what's possible, and then moving through making choices to create best possible outcomes. So it's really a journey of inside yourself. And regardless of whether you're trying to make better choices about some part of your lifestyle, whether you're trying to boost your business results, or whether you're wanting your community to have a better outcome, if we take these 3 steps, we can all end up with better results.
Well, what happens with our brains? You talked about the not possible aspect. What happens with our brains when we say something's not possible?
Well, this is the really tricky part, of course, because as soon as we say something's not possible, our brain agrees with us and basically kind of closes down. So it says, oh, if you think this is not possible, then I'm not going to look for anything to help you with that. It literally goes on a holiday. It says, well, I'm done. This is not possible for you. I'm out. And so the challenge of that for us in whatever our goals are is that we're closing off opportunities. So one of the key pieces of optimising outcomes is creating opportunities. So let me give you an example from my personal life. Why is this so important to me at the moment? About 6 years ago, my husband was diagnosed with a terminal, incurable, only partly treatable condition. Very rare blood disease. My husband was always very special, and so he had a very special disease as well. So what that did was created a whole lot of not possibles. One of the not possibles was that our happy ever after was gone. We were going to live forever, die in our 90s, skiing off the edge of a black run, having heart attacks, tumbling down to the bottom of the ski run. All of our happy ever after was gone. We were faced with a heap of not possibles, things that were not possible for him to do or not possible for us to do. But if we stayed in that place, we would not have been able to move forward. Instead, we asked ourselves, what's possible? So that then sent us down arms of doing research. What's possible in terms of treatment? What's possible? Who's the best doctor? What's possible for him in terms of his activity, his abilities? What can he do, not what can't he do? And so that what possible question was critical to the process. It also meant that we had conversations about what might be possible for me going forward, because we knew that there was no happy ever after. He wasn't going to be here forever anymore. What was possible for me going forward? And so that opened things up.
And I suppose when you talk about that, what's possible, it's not only the thinking, it's the whole language and the communication you're having with everybody else.
With everyone in your world. And so regardless of what kind of relationship you're in or what your goals are, asking what's possible allows people in to help you. So you get better support if you say to people, here's what I'm trying to do, what's possible in terms of how you could reach out and help me. And so we had great support all the way through Lachlan's illness, and sadly, well, we lost that battle 3 years ago, but it meant that we had all kinds of conversations about how I would go forward. And I was in a community where people would come to me and say, how can I help? And what they were asking really was, what's possible for me to do to help you on this journey? So the what's possible piece just opens us up to possibility and to opportunity, which is just a beautiful place to operate from.
So how do we get the best possible results for our viewers out there who might be thinking, oh, well, I don't understand this, not possible?
Yeah. So once we've gone to what's possible, the lovely part about that is that we can then develop a range of options. We can look at what's possible in terms of time, resources, people available to support, money, where you live, all of those sorts of things allow us to gather options. And then we simply use a variety of prioritising techniques. One of the simplest ones is to, if you've got a long list of things and you're trying to choose, just look at 2 of them, choose which one you like best, and then just add 1 more in. People often look at a long list, oh my God, what am I going to do first? Just look at them in pairs, and by doing that, you'll be able to quickly decide which is the best possible for you right now. So best possible doesn't mean best possible forever. Best possible doesn't mean the only thing you're going to do. It's simply, what's the best use of my time and resources right now? And by having that approach, we will make better choices for ourselves and be able to consciously move forward into this idea of optimizing the outcomes in your life, in your business, in your world.
Oh, thank you, Helen. And this is the first in a series of interviews with Helen. The next time she'll be back with Creating Clarity. And for more information on Helen Mack and optimizing outcomes, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And now we'll go to break, and after break we'll be back with another interesting guest and topic. Welcome back. And next we have Dr. Zara Chelik, our integrative health and wellness expert. And she's back with us today to talk about mindfulness. So Dr. Zara, mindfulness is a huge topic.
Huge one at the moment globally, right? It's like a trending word, like, so we had the self-care, which I talked about, and now mindful is another one, buzzing one, which I love to touch on to them, bring some, put my input into it. And we all have different perceptions and different reflective awareness about mindfulness. So I love to educate our audience and give my perspective on that. So it's overly used, as we all know, but not many people actually know what it exactly means. In fact, I was just talking to one of the young university students, and she knew I was doing a podcast with somebody else, and then she asked me how it went, and it somehow led to this mindfulness. So I was so intrigued to find out really her perspective and what it meant for her in terms of being mindful. And I sort of got to understand and see what universities were teaching and where the students were at. So I thought, it'll be great to sort of bring a bit of light onto this topic. So mindfulness is when the mind is completely balanced. If you think of like an algebra maths equation going back to our early high school, sort of late primary school years, where this one side of the equation equals to the other side of the equation. And that's exactly is what mindfulness is in the mind. So we have 2 minds. We have the immanent mind, and then we have the transcendent mind. Immanent mind is the amygdala. Transcendent mind is the prefrontal cortex. So I know a bit of neuroscience there. That's okay, but I'm going to explain it more. So when we are in amygdala, we are in fight, flight, freeze. So when we are self-judging, self-critical, or judging other people, or we are living in the trauma, or we have a lot of neuroassociation pattern, we relate to things our past or event took place, we stay at the immanent mind. and we are going to be at fight, flight, freeze. So then that makes the mind unbalanced, because we are spending a lot of time in the amygdala, which is the imminent mind. But I like people to be also aware of and become objective and authentic by becoming aware of the transcendent mind, which is the prefrontal cortex, which is the executive center of the brain. At that brain, when we are at prefrontal cortex, when we are objective, we become authentic, we become creative. So when we are critical or we have body dysmorphic things, which we talked about as well previously, we spend more time focusing on what is not right, rather than seeing objectively what it is there for us, and it is happening for us, not to us. When we become aware of the other side of the equation, we go into that transcendent mind. We become objective. We have reflective awareness. So we are not self-critical. We are seeing things as they are. We're not resenting others. We are not infatuated with other people. We're not admiring them and putting them up here, because we're becoming reflective, and we're aware of the things that we see in them is also in us. So that will make us more objective, and we have the reflective awareness. I hope I'm not confusing here. I know I'm talking neuroscience, I've got a lot of things going on, but I'm going to explain it more.
So is this with things like, we talked earlier about overthinking, how that can take over?
Correct. So even overthinking, when we're overthinking, overjudging, criticizing, I'm not good enough, I'm not fit enough, I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not rich enough, I don't have the education, the whole, trying to, having the fear, the mind becomes imbalanced. So you're not mindful, you're half mindful, because you're focusing on one side of things and you're not seeing the other things, or you're focusing on one side of of you, and you're not aware of the other side of you. You're with me there. So that creates the imbalance. Or when we're resenting people, we see all the bad things that they did and how it disadvantaged us, right? But we don't get to see how that person also served us. The minute we see the other side of how that person served us, in the case of resentment, that makes us mindful. In the case of infatuation, when you're admiring somebody, for example, oh, they're so beautiful, they're so fit, they're gorgeous, we have this fantasy, right? That makes us one-sided, so that's half mindful. But the minute we also see it in our form, hey, I've also been fit, I'm also fit in this form, I'm intelligent also, or I'm also wealthy, and I've actually displayed and demonstrated in these sort of situations, and I see it as in me, it's part of me, that makes you again mindful. So the equation is balanced. And that's why I say, think of it as a mathematical model, bit of like an algebra. This side of the equation equals this side of the equation. So when you are aware of only one side of events, you are half mindful. But when you're aware of both sides, you are mindful completely. And that's the thing that actually, when I talk to people, they meditate, try to be mindful, and it's overly used, right? We try to become mindful, and we're meditating, and we're investing in ourselves, and it's nice bit of cultural movement globally. People are trying to be mindful, have mindful eating, mindful thinking, mindful language. But if you're not mindful of what's happening within you, then you're not going to be fully mindful. You're half mindful.
So it's like that confusion then that takes over when the confusion, we're not balanced in the mind.
Yeah, so when you're confused, you're not balanced in the mind. So when you're fully aware and you've got reflective awareness and you become objective, then you're authentic yourself. You see, whatever is in other people is actually in you. There's nothing missing, and there's that equity and balance and equanimity within you. Then you are fully mindful, and the biochemistry of the mind is balanced. Because the minute that you're actually critical, the biochemistry shifts. The biochemistry of the mind shifts. The biochemistry of the brain shifts, the biochemistry of the body shifts. But when we are mindful, there's a balance, and that balance within is called equanimity. That's what, homeostasis basically.
What would be your top hint for our viewers, something they can take away today just for themselves to?
So become aware of the language that you're using, and see if you are present with yourself. But if you're even struggling with that, see what your mind is doing. Are you focusing only one thing? Are you, for example, judging or criticizing yourself about maybe an event happened during the day? If you are, catch yourself, stop and pause and see what it is actually there and find the opposite of it. So for example, if you're resenting somebody, say, well, okay, what am I resenting them? What am I exactly resenting them for? And then see the benefit of that action, inaction, or the trait that you're resenting the individual for, and see how that is also serving you, the benefit of that to you. So then you balance that out. If it is an infatuation, you admire somebody, find it in your own form. Then once you find that, that's also balance. If you're judging somebody else, same thing applies. What are you exactly judging them for? How is it a disadvantage to you when you're judging them? Not just the advantage. So then you balance it there too. So try to find balance, but become aware of your language pattern and the language and the words that you use, and see if you can get on to asking yourself the questions to balance the mind.
Well, thank you very much for that. And for more information on Dr. Zara Chelik and mindfulness, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And now for break. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back, and for our next guest we have Kaveri Sequeira, a certified health coach and author, and she's here today talking to us about food marketing. So welcome, Kaveri.
Thank you, Linda. It's great to be back.
Food marketing, Kaveri, what is the impact of food marketing?
Thank you, Linda. So we're actually subconsciously primed from a very young age when it comes to food. For example, when you think about Christmas, you think about Santa. You think about Santa. Children associate, Santa with pleasure because it's presents. Now Santa's colors are red and white. Now, can you think of another fizzy drink company that also uses red and white in their marketing? Now, that is a level of priming that we are used to without being aware from a very young age. I can give you another example. If you look at how food is marketed to us, low fat, skim milk, no fat. That's as soon as you go into the supermarket aisle, you look at these things and you think, okay, I'm trying to be more healthy, so maybe I should make one of these choices. It's right in front there. It's like really well advertised. It's colorful. But when you actually look at it, if you look at the back of the packaging, where the ingredients are for that particular item, you might actually find that there's so much of processed ingredients in that. There's sugar in that, which is hidden in different names. Are you aware that there's actually 65 names or more of sugar? So sugar so you might think you're making a really good choice by making a low fat or no fat, but that's being replaced by processed food, or worse, with things like sugar and in its different names. So you might actually think you're making a healthy choice, but actually you're not. And that is one of the impacts of food marketing. So another example is when, say, you go to a restaurant. Have you ever actually wondered why in the restaurant they give you free bread as soon as you walk in? What happens with free bread is that it's got a lot of junk sugars. And when you actually eat it, your body actually gets more hungry, not less. Have you wondered why you're never full after eating like 3 of those pieces of bread? The reason is we're not getting our nourishment from that food. It is not nourishing. It actually makes you more hungry. What happens when you're more hungry? You're going to order more. And that is all part of the subconscious priming that we're conditioned to from a very young age. So it's really important that we're aware of it, and we are educated on how to make better decisions and vote with our money better.
And so why is it important to know these food industry of tactics, food marketing tactics?
As I said, it's really important that we educate ourselves and be informed about the very fact that just a couple of things that I've just mentioned to you. Because if you don't, you're going to go ahead and make those decisions thinking you're making a healthy decision, a healthy choice, but actually you're not doing anything positive for your health. In fact, it's probably more detrimental because it's so much away from the natural diet. In fact, I've got a great story. I know a person who, she's a woman in her 50s, and she was so unhealthy, and she was so unhappy in her life because she was morbidly overweight. She had a lot of pain, arthritis. She didn't have basic mobility that people have. Like, she couldn't go up and down the stairs. So I have a great story. I have a woman in her 50s. I know a woman in her 50s, and she was morbidly overweight and very unhappy, had a lot of pain due to arthritis, and just basically lacked basic mobility that we would expect to have. Very unhappy with her quality of life, didn't have any energy, couldn't even go up and down her own stairs. And she learned a few of these food marketing tactics that I just shared with you, and overall changed her diet to a more natural human diet. And she released about like over 30 kilos, and she's now got she's moved like a spring chicken, and she basically has no pains, got rid of all her arthritis pains, and she's able to dance and do the things that she's passionate about. When I look at her socials, I'm like so happy for her, because she's just an overall happier, healthier person, and she can actually move up and down and live her life. Now that's what you want. That's how and those are some of the benefits of being aware of this and changing your buying behavior, knowing what you know now.
So Kaveri, how can we make better choices when we are shopping for food?
Great.
Some tips for our viewers.
Great. So the first thing that I would recommend in this topic is to get familiar with the ingredients on the item that you're buying. So I'm not talking about the nutritional information here, guys. I'm talking about the actual ingredients in the package that you're purchasing. Tomato ketchup is you would think has tomatoes in it, and in a couple of other ingredients, but the second largest ingredient in tomato ketchup is sugar. And we all know that sugar is addictive and causes cravings. So if I were you, I would look at buying an organic version of that which has no sugar, or even make your own. So ingredients, look at the ingredients and make better choices. You could get familiar with the 65 names of sugar. There's over 65 names of sugar. So you might actually think you're buying an item that has no sugar in it, but it just may not be called sugar in the ingredients list. It may be called fructose or maltose or corn syrup. All of those are names of sugar. And it's important. I would recommend that you get really familiar with that. Get familiar with the 65 names of sugar, and always check your ingredients on the item that you're purchasing. The other thing you could do is limit things which have got refined sugar in it. So if you know that particular item, so if you know there's soft drinks, or if you look at the ingredients of soft drinks, you'll find that just doing that, you will be like shocked at what all things have got added sugar in it. Things that you don't think, for example, pasta sauce might have added sugar in it. So get familiar with the ingredients in everything you buy. Understand what those 65 names of sugar are. You could also make better choices if you want sugar. I would recommend you have fruits, natural fruits in honey, and you meet your sugar craving from those products. Even things like grain have got a lot of junk sugars in it. So I would recommend reducing that as part of your diet as well, because that actually causes cravings as well. And dairy also is something that I recommend that you limit.
Well, thank you, Kaveri, for that. And for more information on Kaveri and food marketing, and also for that 65 names of sugar, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And for now, we'll leave it till next week and be back with more amazing guests.